Welcome to a Friday Reads, where I talk about what I've read, what I'm reading, what I hope to get to next, and it's hot. So we're going to try and be efficient today. I don't think that's going to happen, but the fans are off, my hair is down, I have kept the window open, so if you hear the ambiance of the city, I apologize. But let's get into it. First, I have read these 3 novellas, so what can we offer you tonight? The Past is Red, Fireheart Tiger, and I have discussed all of these and every other novella I read this month in the video that went live on Wednesday. It was really fun to do. I found some new favorites. It's also just nice to read a bunch of books on a list and rank them myself. Like, I don't think I'll ever pay the money to vote for the Hugos or anything like that, but it's just fun to, like, have an opinion about things like that. So that video is out there. I rank them. I'm gonna be vague in case, you don't want it spoiled which one's my favorite. And I still don't actually know. Like, I pick one for the video, but it was a struggle. A lot of books were like neck and neck when I was doing the ranking. Other things I finished was Reign and Ruin. This is a fantasy romance, and this is one where if you like political royal fantasy and you like elemental magic, then I think you will have a really good time with this if you want that paired with like genre romance, if that makes sense. For me, I don't like when my romance X is 50-50. I like my romance, when I'm reading a book for a romance, to be like 75% romance and like 25% plot convenience so that the romance can happen, if that makes sense. And this was actually a really solid plot that made sense, but I just loved our main characters' chemistry and I just wanted to be with them. And I wasn't allowed to be with them very often until like the last third of the book, and the last third of the book was everything I wanted. And so now I'm torn. I don't know if I'll keep going because it's one of those things where I'm an endings person. I say this all the time. For better or worse, an ending affects how I view a piece of art. That's movies, TV shows, books. It's really hard for me to forget a bad ending. There's like one author who, like, I love their books so much their endings don't bother me as much, and that's Nikki Drayden, if that makes sense. So usually endings make or break an experience. So even though I was quite bored and apathetic for like the first 60%, the last 35-40%, I was having a great time. So I'm torn. I see how the pairings are set up for the next couple books. I'm intrigued, but also there's other romance I would rather try out, so it's probably not going to happen. But I wouldn't want to turn anyone away from this series. I just think that me as a genre romance reader don't like when there's a lot of plot. I just don't think that's currently my preference when I am drawn to that. Like, when there is a strong romance element in sci-fi or fantasy, I prefer it when it's like Nettle and Bone or The Best of All Possible Worlds, which I wouldn't label either of those romance, but they have really lovely romance sub-B plots. So, those are kind of my thoughts. I'm just, was such a mixed bag. So torn about that experience. Like, I was literally working so hard to finish what should have been an escapist read. But yet I did really escape in the last third, so I don't know. Take that as you will. I'm still this close, so close to being done with Bone Hunters by Stephen Erickson. And we are in the convergence, as everyone calls it, including Erickson. I don't know what came first. Erickson mentioning the word convergence in his books or his fandom calling them convergences. I don't know. So maybe a Malazan fan can tell me in the comments. But regardless, much like a Sanderson book with the Sanderlanche, a lot of pieces thread together in the last fourth, and I am in the last fourth and the last half of the last fourth, and there are things, first of all, there are things that are being set up that I'm like, this is going to be so epic when we get there. And maybe we won't get there because there's a lot of subversion that happens in an Erickson fantasy. But then there's also just things that you could not have predicted come out of left field. And I'm like, well, that was epic. And, like, I was terrified. Like, I just read a chapter where everyone literally was just, like, so terrified and didn't think we would make it, and, like, how that resolved. It's a lot. I enjoy it. Like, the list of epic, awesome things that have happened in this series, both for character arcs, world building, just, like, that was spectacular to read, is so long. It's really hard to talk about spoiler-free, or even spoilers. I don't know how this spoiler chat's gonna go, just because I've just been going with it, and there's just so many things that happen, like so many things. I've been more active in a Discord that'll link down below that's like more of a Malazan Discord, and so you can like unlock by book, and they're really good and not spoiling, and they have like trivia night. It's a really lovely part of the Malazan community that I enjoy being in when I'm like reading a book and people will answer questions spoiler free. It's really lovely. I enjoy it. So Bone Hunters has been going great. I mean, it's been, my month-long read, and I'm almost done with it. I also picked up, since last time I chatted, Blood Trials. So this is not helpful for you, but it's Blood Trials. and I'm this far. I started it as an audiobook on Sunday because I was doing a bunch of chores and I heard the audiobook's good, which I don't mind it. I think it works well as an audiobook because I think it's first person. I'm never good at knowing if things are first person. Yes, the first word is I. So, it's first person. And first person I think for me works well with audio, and it's very plot driven, so although there are new places and words and things, it's pretty easy for me to latch onto, but I have also been physically reading it. So, it's fun, but I just need to spend more time getting into it. I read the first 23% in one sitting, so I just haven't picked it up since because I've been doing other things. So I don't have enough of a sense of what it's going to be like for me. Currently existing in the solid 4-star range. I don't have a strong connection to our main character, but she's a well-developed main character, and I'm really interested to see how this military thing's gonna go because it's a lot like Red Rising and the trope of the military school where basically you're kind of put through it all to see the best of the best come through, and so war games and stuff like that. I think that's the word. So we're currently in the war games scenario. And I do like that it's sci-fantasy. I enjoy that. I enjoy a good sci-fantasy. So we'll see. I'm just hoping it's a fun, plot-driven time. Another sci-fi I'm reading, because apparently I'm reading a bunch of sci-fi right now and I'm thriving. But Far Sector by Jemison, I am over the halfway point. I don't know if you guys can see. I'm this far. I'll put the image up because this is always so glossy. It's so good. Oh, I mean, shocking that I like another Jemison, right? That, of course. It's just, it somehow still has her voice, and it's literally right now so fun for me that I don't want to rush it. I could just sit down and finish it. There's nothing stopping me, but I'm liking it so much I don't want it to end portion of reading a book. It's so good. The world building, the commentary, the authorial voice, the character voice, the Green Lanternness of it all. I always have loved the Green Lanternness, and this spin on the Green Lantern and this ring's power. Oh, so good. It's so good. I just have so much fun consuming it. If anyone's read Far Sector and can recommend other comics or graphic novels that are like Far Sector in terms of its world building, and also the art is stunning. The art is so pretty. And I'm having such a fun time. It has a lot of my favorite sci-fi tropes. It has a lot of my favorite superhero stuff. It's really good. I sent a picture of it to my friend the other day being like, have you read this yet? Because she loves superhero stuff and she loves Jemison. And she said no, so I'm thinking this is a person I need to gift this book to so that they can read it, and it's their birthday soon. So I'm very excited. Another thing I'm in the middle of, because I actually took notes this time. I'm on top of it today. I took notes. I also started Project Hail Mary because I needed another Kindle book after Rain and Ruin, and I didn't want to start Wall of Storm until I finished Bone Hunters. I'm really trying hard not to do that. And so I started it because I just knew it would be easy. I read The Martian. I read the first 50 pages of Artemis. I know Andy Weir's writing style. It is easy. And so I figured that's fine for right before bed, and I would see where I fall on the hype train. I'm honestly, expecting it to be a 3.5-star read for me, which is pretty middle of the road for me, so it has a chance to be a 5-star if it happens, but there's also a chance that I'll be very annoyed with it. We will see. I was talking to Jess Owens. It's there's this type of sci-fi that, in my head, I call blockbuster sci-fi for books, which is, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying this in, a derogatory way. It's the type of action-packed, very quick read sci-fi book that easily could be a blockbuster movie. And there's something about that density, that pacing of writing, and Blake Crouch does this too, that sometimes works really well for me, and other times I don't like it. I would rather be watching the movie than spending the time reading the book. So we'll see if I'm in the right headspace, but I want to read the Hugo novels, and literally this book is so beloved by people outside and inside the genre. I would like to know my opinion. And Evie was so sweet and sent me the audiobook because I was complaining about that on Wednesday, so now I have that to listen to. And we'll see if that works. I do think it's going to be an easy read, but my first impressions from the first 2 chapters is that this is a first-person book that I might get really annoyed at the main character very quickly. Mainly because his inner head thinks in very short, clipped sentences, and it's just the cadence of it is just so jarring to me to just be dun 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 dun. It's just very, I don't know how to describe it other than the cadence of these are just very short clipped sentences in his head. And we'll see. we'll see how it goes. I really didn't like the description of how he described his medical situation when he woke up. That wasn't fun for me. But we'll see. Like I said, I'm going into it with pretty neutral expectations, with the hope that it will be great for me, but with the understanding that maybe I'm not in the right headspace for this type of sci-fi genre at the moment. And the last two books that I need to read before the end of the month, well, have to is a strong word, I guess on my TBR Star Hop is Gollum and the Genie. So I want to read this. A, because it's on that TBR, but B, because my best friend, gave this to me, and I like to read the books that the people in my life gift me. They thought of me, they thought I would like it, I'd like to read this. And I think this is going to be good to read it now because I've been reading so many sci-fi things, and it's not epic fantasy, because that's basically what I've been reading. Novellas, epic fantasy, and sci-fi. And this is none of those things. This is historical fantasy, and I think it's going to be really nice and different. And then what I just want to read once I finish Bone Hunters is Wall of the Storm, because I want to. And because Stephanie's currently reading it. And I can't listen to any of the Voxer messages she sent because I have not read it. And also, this book is so hard to hold because it is a thick, thick book. But I am excited. I'm excited to see if I am going to have the same experience as everyone else. I hope I do. I'll be fine if it's the same level of engagement as Grace of Kings. I'm going into it wanting at least the same experience as Grace of Kings. If it exceeds that, great. Wonderful. So those are all of the things, and you'll get to know what I thought about everything with the wrap-up, because I think it's the last Friday reads before TBR time. And briefly, I wanted to talk about some of the media I've been watching lately, because I've actually watched a fair bit of stuff that I have opinions on. I think I've already mentioned Stranger Things in a different video, but I've, a couple weeks ago, finished Stranger Things Season 4. No spoilers, but I loved it. I like this type of sci-fi horror camp. I like campy things, and this is campy stuff with a budget and with characters that I am just ride or die for. There's a character that in Season 1 I did not like, and his glow-up has been chef's kiss phenomenal. Love him. So great. So I really enjoy it. I can't wait to see the end of it in a couple years. And also, the world building, I never expected this show to have consistent world building. Honestly, I was willing to hand wave a lot of the stuff, and I still do a little bit, but the consistency that does exist is very fulfilling. I was not expecting it. Because it feels like a show that had a first season, and then they had to think of what the rest of the seasons would be. That's what it felt like as a viewer. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. I haven't looked at interviews or anything, but that's what it felt like. So the fact that things have tied together in the world building has been really fulfilling for someone who's a world building driven reader and consumer and who likes world building that's consistent. One of my biggest gripes about things that are so epic and large like Star Wars is that that world building's all over the place. It's just all over the place. I feel like even if you're a fan of Star Wars, you have to admit that that world building is just it's consistency is not the word I would use to describe Star Wars world building. That's just not what I would use. Another show I finished recently is The Boys. I don't know if it's always been this gory, but the recent season was another level. This is a very, very R-rated superhero subversion commentary if you haven't seen it on Amazon. I really like it. I think I like Invincible more, the animated superhero thing they have. I'm waiting for season 2 because that one's more camp. This one's less camp. This one's more burn everything to the ground. But I really like it, and one of the reasons I like it, this is a really silly thing. So there's a character named Huey. In the first season, he loses his girlfriend because of a superhero, and that's how he falls in with the boys to basically show superheroes who's boss. I don't know. The premise of it is pretty loose. I just enjoy watching it. I truly do. I'm very invested in this, I don't know, subversive superhero thing, but I consume all things superhero. But Huey, back to him, not a superhero. Normal dude, lost his girlfriend. They have decided since season 2 that he loves Billy Joel, and I love Billy Joel, and they've used some obscure Billy Joel songs that have brought me life. Season 2, they used Second Wind, which is only a single by Billy Joel. It's not on any album, and I love that song. They've used some classics, too, We Didn't Start the Fire and Uptown Girl. They've used some classics. But, I just have enjoyed that. I did not expect The Boys to have more than 2 Billy Joel songs. Heck, I didn't expect it to have 1 Billy Joel song, and I think it's had 5. So that's been great. That's not why I like season 3. And also, I'm just I'm curious about where it's going. So we'll see. It's been really interesting. And then I started season 4 of Westworld, and all I want to do is watch Westworld. But A, there's not that many episodes out. and B, we watch it with our old roommate, and so we've only watched the first episode. But I'm just like, oh, I love this. I love how it's purposefully convoluted, and like, it's probably not even that twisty, but like, it makes you keep second guessing. Like, every season it's like, what's the scenario? Could it be this? Could it be that? What is real? What's not real? I love that. I'm so engaged by Westworld. I really enjoy it, and I think it's done a pretty good job for me, at least for what I have always liked from the show, keeping that steady. It's definitely changed tones, so season 1 and 2 is very different from season 3. Like, super different. I think some of the thematic questions are still the same, but it's super different. And then I don't know where season 4 is going. I was very surprised by where we started season 4. So I'm really interested in that. So those are the things that I've been watching. And then tonight, because I'm a huge fan, we watched Rear Window. And it's a heat wave in a city, and that's what's happening in Rear Window. And I wanted to watch it because Ryan's never watched it, and it's like my favorite Alfred Hitchcock. And it holds up. I think I like it because it feels like a play. And I just like it. And I like how it's so dialogue heavy and so conversational, and how it's a thriller that takes like 80% of the movie to get there, but then when it does, it's just so tense because you've had all this build up, and I really enjoyed the community work of that, and it's show and don't tell. I think it holds up. I think it's a good classic film. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, everything from the past is not perfect, but I really enjoy that movie. So this is longer than I planned it to be, and I am sweating, so I'm going to end it here. If you want to leave an emoji, oh, I don't know. Leave, what did I just talk about? Rear Window? Are there windows emojis? Let's do a window emoji. And if there's not a window emoji, do a house, or a sun, or a thermometer. It is so warm. Like, I just miss central air so much. Because I grew up with hot summers, but I grew up with them with access to central air. So it's very different when you don't have it. So, like, if you don't understand why people are struggling when they have heat waves that they're not used to, it's because they don't even, like, have fans and stuff. Like, they don't have the things that you need to survive. But that's it for this one. Like if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.